This is Perspective as a Motherfucker. Sit back, strap in, and relax. Cue transition. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. Back again for another week. Hope everyone's having a great week. My week has been a little new. It's been very interesting, and I just started a new job. Now, I know as any entrepreneur or business owner, when it comes to yourself personally, the word job is not a good word. But as you can see where I'm filming at, the studio and things like that, and getting these video episodes out, that costs money. So even though my business is doing quite well, paying for this and also making sure all my bills are taken care of, you got to do what you got to do. And I learned through experience that all or nothing is not the way to go, so with that being the case, I have a great guest for you guys this week. This is somebody that at first when I met, I didn't know he was actually going to be on the podcast. I just thought he was my man behind the camera's assistant, which I kind of found out he's a lot more than that. Not only is he a traveler, but he's also a person in the crypto space that's very knowledgeable. And with everything going on as far as stock market inflation and everything like that, crypto can make you a lot of money, but it can also lose you a lot. So I definitely want to get somebody on that definitely knew the ins and outs on that. So with that being said, my guest for today, welcome, Raimund Jones.
Thank you, Aaron. Glad to be on the show.
All right. So how's your week been, brother?
Man, it's been a hell of a time. Just got back from Miami and spring break over here back in my favorite East Coast city here in Jacksonville. Grew up here, and now I'm visiting some friends. Just spent some time over on Jack's Beach here with Curtis.
Nice.
And so now I'm staying over on Southside, but I'm just doing a little bit of business, re-experiencing the city, and taking it one day at a time. Going to be out of here in a few weeks.
Okay. So I know you were telling me that you're a Jacksonville native, but you actually moved to Arizona. And so what was that like?
Arizona, East Valley, man. Scottsdale, baby. Can't go wrong. It was a huge experience. It was a huge experience getting to see it because half of my family's lived out there, for years now, and I didn't really ever go out there. But it's definitely, the desert has its charms, and it's a booming business hub that's going to be growing for years to come, for sure. Scottsdale is turning into a tech hub over on the west. Yeah,
I was actually kind of surprised, everybody talking about that off pod, but like when I think about, not only I would say like, Scottsdale, but I've heard of like Charlotte as well. But then most of the time right now, when I think about Silicon Valley, I think of San Francisco, I think about, California, that area. But what do you believe that is making not only Scottsdale, but that part of Arizona into a tech hub? Is it just the accessibility? Is it like what about that specifically? A lot of people decided to move there and actually really start to kind of develop that.
Well, I think it's most of the tech giants are moving some of their headquarters out there. I think Google and Yelp have headquarters out there right now, if I'm not mistaken. And don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. But there are a lot of tech hubs right now that are moving out there, and there's a lot of microchip processing plants over there as well. So, you hear about the chip shortage that was going on for a while.
Yeah.
They're moving a lot of that manufacturing out there to the desert.
It makes sense because there was, when that chip shortage was going off, you had so many of these vehicles that, unfortunately, always love American muscle, cars, it was, that era was really classic, but you have a lot of these things where you don't have the right things for the computer. The car's not running at all. And you can't really certain things you can't bypass that. Even with the shortage, certain companies were basically, they were just almost jimmy rigging certain chips that were accessible just to put them in there and then say, okay, well, we'll fix that after the fact. So, especially all that stuff was, through China and, how we're dealing with them right now. So It's one of those things where it's you move that type of manufacturing overseas to, of course, bottom line. But when it comes to when you have, certain disagreements or delays, you need a place where it's a little bit more accessible. So it makes sense.
I think one of the bigger companies that are doing this manufacturing for the chips out there is Dell. And with American made on the rise now, we're trying to bring our production back from overseas back to the U.S. Dell is taking a big leap forward and starting a lot of the manufacturing out there.
No, I mean, it's great. It's what I always tell people is when they, a lot of people are like American made, I don't want to buy from China. That's fine. Are you willing to pay American prices? Yeah. Because that's what people don't understand. This is why we move stuff over to overseas. Yeah. Like, especially like with Nike and things like that, it costs them like $5 to make a shoe, and they sell it for $100 or $150. So again, if you're gonna make it here, that's fine, but things are gonna get expensive. And if you're willing to go and pay that to be really America first, by all means. But you have a lot of people that they're saying that with their mouth, but they're not saying that with their wallet.
They're not ready to, But on the flip side, what's the last thing you bought that was American made? A lot of the times you get better quality and you get more years of use out of things that are, made over here. It's just more quality, and lots of the times you buy something from overseas, it's going to break on you in the first year,
exactly.
Or if it's depends on what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of things where it's better to have something that's going to last longer than having to buy it 5 or 10 times over your lifetime. This makes more sense.
I think people are going to start to understand that. Why buy things more than once when you don't have to?
Exactly. So I know you said you're a business owner. So I believe you said in the SEO space. So what exactly do you do for your business?
So over at Ox Digital, we do result-driven digital marketing for small to medium-sized businesses across a variety of industries. We specialize in website design, SEO, email marketing, and social media and paid advertising.
Okay, so what made you focus on that business as far as that's the business I want to get into?
Well, started off in marketing and sales, and I was doing home improvement.
Nice.
Roofs, windows, doors, that kind of thing, going door to door.
I've been there.
Leading a crew for a little bit, and had the company vehicle and everything, and I was making good money for an 18-year-old.
Yeah,
I was making decent money for an 18-year-old, but it wasn't location independent. So, I started working on my first couple of websites around that time, and I realized I wanted to go fully online. Yeah. And it's just been going up from there.
Especially even I think about how Alon was 10 years ago compared to now. It's night and day.
Right.
And it's just one of those things where you have a lot of people to where they don't mind buying local. They don't mind working with companies, but also they want companies that have some type of enough reviews to where they can make a semblance. Because a lot of the times now, even with Amazon or other places, a lot of people, before they even buy anything, they're looking at the reviews. They're looking at they're looking at least 5 to 10 people that bought that product or had that service done before they buy anything.
100%.
And a lot of the times where your reviews can either make you a lot of money or it can really be a detriment to your success.
I think that started with Gen Z, right? You have a lot of consumers now that are super conscientious about exactly where their products and services are coming from, if those businesses and companies are reputable, if they're environmentally friendly.
Exactly.
They have to line up with, Gen Z's values. So more than ever, consumers are getting picky.
Yeah, and it's one of the things what I didn't realize too, as far as even certain companies of political affiliations and things like that. And I've really never looked at that because honestly, people are going to support whoever they're going to support. As long as you're a somewhat good company and you have good products and services, but I don't care who you voted for. I don't care who your CEO voted for. I'm just going to be honest, guys. I don't care about that personally. But you have a lot of people to where even I have friends of mine to where, okay, I'm not buying Coke because of, how their CEO, was, gave, a certain donor millions of dollars. I'm not supporting the NBA because they had their relationship with China or things like that. And I'm like, I understand where you're coming from, but whether we like it or not, guys, money runs the world. Now, you can choose how you get your money. You can choose who gives you your money. You have that option. You don't take everybody's money just because. Everybody's money is not good. But also, just be a little bit more, I'm not a big this performative wokeness. It's theater to me, and a lot of people, they like to be perceived as forward thinking, but their actions are not this. They rather tweet about something. They rather
Seems like they're creating controversy just for controversy's sake.
Yeah. So for you, what's the end goal with Ox Digital?
Well, we're a full service digital marketing agency. So right now we're in the process of scaling,
Okay.
bringing on a few employees,
Okay.
Remote positions mostly.
Okay.
And
It makes sense.
and just basically trying to really hone in on the vision for the next few years. We're moving to new markets. We're going to be setting up in new cities. So here in South Florida is going to be one of our biggest new markets.
Nice.
That we're targeting, all the way from Daytona Beach down to South Miami and South Beach. And there's just so much potential, But we're also going to be targeting Arizona. So it's looking like that's basically where things are starting out. And I'm going to be going back and forth for a little bit.
Okay.
Just while things are getting more, set up. And I have a few people, service providers that I need to meet up with over in Arizona and then over in Texas. Yeah. But just building a team and honing in on the vision. Yeah.
Okay, so it's like your vision, end of the day, are you... And I mean, sometimes in the tech space, people will say like, okay, I'm trying to be the next Google or the next WeWork or the next Apple. So is your goal to essentially get to the point to where you're in that realm to where you could possibly go public, IPO, the whole shebang?
Absolutely. As far as a company that we're trying to maybe mimic in that regard, we don't really have a company that we're trying to compare ourselves to. We're trying to stay, our own for what we're doing for now. Yeah. But we definitely want to scale things on the service and software side, automate things as much as possible. Yeah. And
automation's where is that?
And that'll allow us to maybe get to that IPO level.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you have so many people that, especially in the digital marketing space or a lot of these different industries, to where they're not first, second. They might be like very late to the party. And what I've told people is with anything, does not matter if you are first. You just have to be better. You just have to be better, and you have to be you. Like, what sets you aside from them? That's your biggest thing. And that's what a lot of people, they try to mimic things to where they're an off-brand of that, where it's like, okay, well, if you don't want to go and spend money with that because they're pricey, you can come to us. It's like, no. If you want to spend money with them, that's fine. Right. But we have a certain niche. We have a certain demographic client base that we're looking to target. It's very funny because we were talking this off pod, where you have a lot of restaurants to where the ones that really win are the ones that focus on their niches. That's right. The ones that wouldn't say they necessarily don't win, but they're more scattered is when they try to offer everything. Right. If I go to a place that, has chicken nuggets, I'm going to the place to the chicken nuggets, not for the cheeseburger.
That's right.
The same thing with me going to McDonald's and ordering a salad. It's more times than not, it's not going to be good than if I went to Salad Works or any of the other, food spots.
So our demographics are pretty. We have a variety of industries that we're serving right now. And we are honing in to specialize in a few different industries later down the road. And right now we are a full service digital marketing agency, but we are trying to transition strictly, more to the social media marketing side of things. Okay. So I've heard
the term digital marketing. I've even worked with like digital marketers in certain capacities. When people say digital marketing, what to you, what does that mean?
Digital marketing that's online business, everything from your website to the email marketing, the SEO, social media, paid advertising, just any type of online marketing, basically. So.
Okay. All right. Now, I know you were telling me you're pretty knowledgeable in the crypto space. So, with everything going on with the government, almost with a couple of the coins, they are necessarily trying to destabilize. They're trying to basically doing a little bit of nefarious things. Like, first, like, what got you into crypto in the first place?
Well, just seeing it grow over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, me and my friends were talking about Bitcoin years ago, before anything started, before the ball was even rolling, man. And it's going to be one of the biggest regrets not getting into it sooner.
It's one of those things where, and I missed a couple of them where there was one where, of course, I still didn't know anything about it. That was when 50 Cent got one of his like last albums all in Bitcoin, and then this is when it was like I think it was like maybe $50 a coin at one point, and it like skyrocketed to thousands. You had literally overnight millionaires. You even had a couple tragedies. There's a couple people that like literally, I guess their blockchain, they locked it, and it was such an intricate code, and you going put too many passwords in there. After that, it was gone. Millions like people had millions of dollars of Bitcoin. I'm just like, but yeah, I mean, I missed the train on that quite a few times because honestly, I just didn't understand it. I understand it now, and I would say even like the one that's really Congress is trying to destabilize is XRP. So a lot of them, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff of people, not only people in high positions of this government of trying to buy it, but also trying to get it to the point to where they're trying to destabilize it at the same time, and they're not understanding, one, you can't destabilize this. And it's one of their, it's, it's almost, no, you know what? It is insider trading. They're doing that because they have the information, things like that. And it's one of the things where it's like knowledge is power. And especially a lot of the times, knowledge is not it usually goes into the hands of people that it doesn't need to go into.
So, back in the day when we first saw this thing coming, I mean, we were joking about it, but we knew it was going to be big. We just didn't expect governments and banks and all these corporate institutions to take it on so quickly in the next 5-10 years. It was we knew it was going to happen eventually, but we were thinking 25 years down the road, 50 years down the road. We didn't expect it to happen in 2020. I mean, things to start popping off like
this. They fought it, and
2015 to 2020.
Yeah, exactly. Like they fought it for a while, but also the pandemic, and it was a lot of things that were at play.
Kind of created the perfect situation to transition into digital currency. Exactly. It's funny how that lined up.
Yeah, it was. It almost looks like it was manufactured. But so for you, because I have a little bit of I got some Dogecoin and things like that. I'm still holding on to it. Unfortunately, when Elon got on SNL, that thing took a tank. That's the one thing I don't like about stocks and even cryptocurrency. The market is like so malleable. It's insane. Right. Like somebody that's famous can tweet something, things like that. It can go up or it can go down. And then you have a lot of people that are getting behind these shit coins to where they're doing these pump and dumps.
That's right.
To where then you have a lot of people to where it's
the altcoins, the shit coins. Yeah, exactly. Pump and dumps. I expected Elon to really kill that SNL skit. I really did. I expected him to just pop off with all the publicity he's been getting and everything. He's turning into people are looking at this guy like he's some kind of Iron Man.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I like the guy, but he says one thing a lot of times and he does another. He says we're opening Pandora's box with AI, and what does he do? He's developing neural brain implants.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, arguably it could be helped, paraplegics and things like that down the road.
But
realistically, it's going to be, in the common consumer, and they're going to be using it to do things like watch YouTube videos.
Exactly. It's not going to be any type of higher consciousness where even like a buddy of mine, we were talking about that to where, once that goes online, it's going to be kind of like, I'm not sure if you saw that movie called Gattaca. Had Jude Law and Ethan Hawke in it, to where he was born not like perfect, so like his eyesight was off, things like that. He mirrored somebody he had to actually get his shorten his legs, things like that. But it's like he had to wear contacts to where he couldn't even see. His brother was a cop because he was the perfect, he was like these perfect, like genetically engineered people, and they look down at the people that were born, I guess you want to say regular,
the lower class.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where it's like that and like altered carbon. Like
altered
that,
carbon, that's another one.
Like that stuff, like even get too off the topic, but like as far as I want to say, like with sexuality and gender and things like that, like if this was an altered carbon situation as far as like that, let's say you lived 25 years old as a man, and then they genetically engineered a body as you were a woman, could be able to have kids, things like that, put your stack in it, and then basically the person you were before is gone, and now you're this. You can still have children. You can do all these things, whatever the case may be. You got the hormones and shit like that. The only thing again, not to be controversial, but that's a lot of shit to do to your body just to, live the life you want to live. But if you have the money and the things, again, to each his own, but that's just too much. That's just too much.
Well, in that regard, they do glamorize it a lot on things like Netflix and with these different shows. They might try to make it look appealing. It's not going to be nearly that that simple.
Not at all. Because even you want to think about our brains are computers, and then you want to say the stack is a soul. Essentially, it's a digital soul, but it's one of those things where you've seen where people died too many times, where it's almost like you live for 100 years, you forget certain things, your personality changes because
they delete some memories.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like even like in the show, like I'm sorry, Altered Carbon's been out for a very long time. And it's a couple years, like the first season, but just for that, to where you could essentially, they had murder clubs. These girls were getting murdered, and a lot of the times too, they're like, yeah, they usually didn't come back after the first day because. You had somebody that they were fighting to the death. They were a husband and wife, and whoever wins, they get the prize money. They get new, and they come back to their children with new faces every time. Like what type of that's
creepy.
That's
straight up.
The fact that even like, and like that concept just. It's going to get to the point where if you have enough money, you have enough technology, you can live forever, but you don't want to live forever.
You seen that movie? I forget what it's called, but they built a space station. It's like out in orbit, and only the upper class of people with access to that tech.
Elysium.
Yeah, Elysium.
That was crazy.
The Earth is all in ruin, and it's a war zone, and you got this guy who's trying to escape, save his daughter and his wife or something, bring her up to the pod, because
he was just working in the factory. He ended up getting basically stuck radiation. He's going to die.
Yeah.
Now, he ended up getting contacted where, like, if any aid and things like that, like things that the higher class could do, and they're choosing not to. Like, they're just doing whatever they want to do. I'm like, yeah, you're lower class. We don't care about you. So. Which, I mean, those things I think about to where you have elitism right now, but it's not...
It's not in the average person. There's really are just a small group of people that think that way and have that vision for the world.
You have a lot of people, but then you also have the super uber successful. Then you have I'd say the middle class and like the people that are rich, not the wealthy. You have those that they aspire to be that, and a lot of the times there's classism within that to where it's like. You didn't get your, even though we'll let you spend your money here, you didn't get your money in a respectable way.
Right.
It's the same thing where you'll have like the old money, new money. A lot of the new money is entertainment based. So you still have real estate agents, but you have a lot of people, social media stars, TikTokers, comedians, actors, things like that. To where when you see them come into the neighborhood, okay, like you guys have the new money. Compared to the people that got real estate, they were doctors, finance. We got it a little bit more reputable, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But, so there's always going to be that class. It's like anything else. I just believe that, and then you have
I want people to know that's a smaller segment than what people like to believe, because they see so much, so many TV shows and so many movies that go in that direction, where they take humanity into a sci-fi kind of kind of direction. And it's not even the 1% that we're talking about. It's the 0.0001%.
Exactly. The people that, not to be conspiratorial, but you might have that 0.1% that they start wars for fun because they're bored.
Well, throughout history, war is a racket. It makes a ton of money, so absolutely.
So, it's just, people just need to understand, things are going to happen. You just understand that. Now, if you want to fight to uber success, that's fine. There's a lot of people that they get the upset, they get gripes, they complain. I don't want to have to fight to the middle, which that's fine. But you have a lot of people that they build their own prisons. There's a reason why you don't have the money. It's like, you only need in this world really food, water, shelter, clothing. You don't need Netflix. You do need internet. That you do need. But our phones are mini supercomputers. They have the entirety of human knowledge. And we watch TikToks and cat videos.
The media loves to direct the public's perception. This week, everybody, a couple weeks ago, everyone was talking about Will Smith. Yeah. Everybody.
Exactly. Where it was just I seen so many takes, and it was, it was a culture thing. It was all these different things that they're like, he shouldn't have did that. You need to have control. And then it was this, well, this is how black people handle things. Is white people, whatever else. At the end of the day, when there's actions to consequences, like anything in life. Now, so what a lot of people don't realize is Will Smith has only had 3 Oscar nominations his entire career. 2002 was in Ali. 2007 was Pursuit of Happiness. 2 of those were biopics. He did another one with the guy from Concussion. And then this last one was actually his 4th biopic, because Venus and Serena's father. This was a culmination of 25 years that, unfortunately, because of anger and rashness, he shit on. He shit on his moment. A lot of people are saying, hey, you should defend your wife. That's fine. But you only reacted because she didn't because you laughed at it. A lot of people thought that shit was staged. I thought that shit was staged. After I kept hearing, especially just coming from where I come from, that people forget that he's still a guy from, West Philly. So he slapped the taste out Chris Rock's mouth, which was funny. But
they go way back. Decades.
They go way back,
man.
So if we're being honest, he wouldn't have did that to any other comedian. He wouldn't have did that to any female comedian. He wouldn't have did that to any, if we're being honest, any white comedian.
If The Rock was standing there, if Terry Crews was standing there.
Hell no. No. He knew exactly who he's doing to. Now, with the whole entanglement mess and all that stuff, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And if Will Smith ever sees this, again, I like you, but if I'd work with you, but you gotta have control, bro. Come on now. You could have fucked him up after the cameras weren't there. At least I would have waited until I knew if I would have won my Oscar or not. Because after I wouldn't have won my Oscar, then I'm definitely coming up there and fucking you up. And even you could have did a jab. Now, I respect Chris Rock, and I'm going to end this with this. Chris Rock is from New York. There's a lot of people, that shit could have went really left. You would have had 2 prominent black legends on there fucking rumbling. Which would have been, especially as the anniversary of the Oscars, this is going down in Oscar history, whether he likes it or not. Oh. And then, to button this up, he resigned from the Academy. The only reason why is so they wouldn't ban him. And he might get his Oscar taken away. Again, you got to know exactly where you're at all times to control. And then he had Bradley Cooper, which he's a Philly native, and Denzel Washington. But I got to say, respect the hell out of Chris Rock, because he took that shit in stride and just kept going. Because a lot of people I know, if it was any other black comedian, the shit would not have went that way, point blank, period.
Yeah, you had those other guys. Everyone was calming him down except for Jada.
Exactly.
Where was she?
Yeah.
But we can cut that part out if you want. But, I just wanted to mention that because it's a great example of steering public perception,
Yeah.
And
now it's a distraction. Now people are talking about that when we still got Ukraine and Russia. Yeah. We got inflation. People are caring about this shit. I see this all on this, but are you fucking kidding me?
People talking about Will Smith when, everything going on with Russia. Now COVID's dead in the water.
Nobody gives a fuck about COVID. Like, it's crazy. But it's one of those things where it's like you have so many where I can make you, like, if I turn your attention, again, this Will and Jada situation might get another week or 2 weeks of content and then it's going to go away. And it's going to be over to the next thing. Like, right. People have shorter attention spans now more than ever. So it's That's
right. And, just back to, the media loves to steer public perception, and crypto is necessary to create some of these utopian or dystopian visions that we're seeing in pop culture. So, digital currency, not to say that fiat, especially when it's racked with a bunch of debt, is any better, but at least it's something you can hold in your hand. It becomes a slippery slope when you have digits on a screen that are dictating people's lives, because things can be changed with the click of a mouse or the tap of a button.
So that's the one thing, even with this whole, I think it's bullshit, but this whole change shortage I've been seeing over the last year. And I'm like...
collecting the cash back.
Like, are you serious? Like, nobody has change? Like... laundromats aren't functioning? Exactly. Like, that makes sense. No. I know every laundromat I go to, I can still get a whole bunch of quarters. So, like, what are we talking about here?
A lot of countries in history throughout wartime will recollect the currency to try to issue a new currency.
That makes sense.
And that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean...
corn shortage.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of people to where even we've gotten so advanced to where you have a lot of people that upload their debit cards and everything, like, in their credit cards onto their phones. Which,
Apple Pay, yeah.
I mean, I've used that, when I had a Samsung, but it's one of those things where it's like...
people are going to start relying on it.
You got to...
then they don't even have a card anymore.
You don't have a card anymore. So let's go say the network goes down. Yeah. Like, you have all your cards stored. Let's go say your phone gets hacked. Now they have all your information.
It's going to be a crazy next few years. It started with wearables. It started with, your phones becoming smaller and smaller, more compact, to the point where you can always have it on you at all times. And what's the next logical step after wearables?
Yeah, chips, implants. I'm not sure if you've seen, like, any of the Marvel stuff, but, like, in the Galaxy, they'll have credits. Okay. So it's the same thing where it's basically like, hey, I got so many credits on my body or whatever case. Maybe it's all that transferring. I'm like, it's going to get to a point where there are going to be certain people that are going to get hacked, or things are going to get manipulated where you thought you had this amount of money in there. I mean, not recently, but there's been people that have gotten their bank accounts hacked and drained. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where
you can't do that with cash.
You can't do that with cash unless you rob a bank. But even with that now, that movie Office Space all those years ago, like almost 20-something years ago, where all they did was they would round up to the nearest dollar. Mm-hmm. You do that with several accounts in accounting and put it into an account. Nobody's going to miss 5 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents. Especially if it's not $1, you're not going to miss that. You're going to be like, oh. You're not even going to really care. You're like, all right, like it's 50 cents. You do that 50, 100, $20,000, times, you make up some money.
And there are a lot of, black hats and hackers that are definitely taking advantage of that situation, skimming right off the top. It just creates a situation where cybersecurity is going to have to be stepped up, like, significantly.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where even on our phones, like, there's not really, I haven't seen a good security on your phone, unless, like, you work for, like, the government or things like that, where, they issue you a phone and it has certain stuff on. But, like, the stuff for the consumer side, I don't see anything. I've seen Avast, I've seen Norton, but it's like...
there's going to have to be major innovation.
Yeah, like, even, like, half of these antivirus things, I'm going to be honest with you, like, there's people that they're not making these software to even, like, Trojan's like, okay, like we know like you guys are gonna buy this for this, so why are we gonna even make it? We're gonna make the code different. Like there's codes now where I haven't seen recently, but I have seen in like TV shows where these hackers would send this over to like hospitals, like main servers, and basically hold the hospital hostage to where you don't pay us $1 million, we're not letting your server. And it's one of those things where it's like it's one of those things where you can't negotiate with terrorists, because if you do it with one person, what's to say a week, a month, a year from now, someone does the same thing, and they're like, okay, like you have patients that are going to die. Most of these things are not on in-ground, like to anything. They're on Wi-Fi networks, secure servers. Yeah. You compromise the server, either you let patients die or you pay the money.
Open up a whole can of worms. Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, and then technology, you know, people are going to have to really start to be more careful, where they get their information from, which sources they trust. You know, you have things like deep fakes too. You're going to have politicians and CEOs 5-10 years down the road that are saying and, you know, doing things that they never said or did.
Yeah, I mean, and these deep fakes are like really they're really bad, to where it's like you got to actually have an actual professional that actually knows what they're looking at, to where they've blended it. I've seen ones on TikTok and other social media to where they've literally put people's faces on where it's like it looks like them. Yep. To where like even
soundboards, AI that can take your voice and rearrange it and make you say it's nutty, man. I mean, people are gonna have to be really careful with this down the road.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like
we're the pioneers of it.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't believe what you hear, what you see, like unless it comes out of somebody's mouth directly in front of you or in a crowd. That's the only. And unfortunately, with the convenience and all this technology with Zoom, like God forbid somebody gets on Zoom and, you've had, so many people, CEOs, different things like that. They didn't turn their camera off. They didn't have themselves muted.
Zuckerberg keeps his webcam taped.
I'm not surprised. Especially with his, I'm definitely not surprised. I mean, at the end of the day, they have all our information stored somewhere on a server, and it's until you get to a certain point where they deem you a threat, then they'll be like, okay.
Shut it down. Censored.
Exactly.
You are canceled officially.
Yeah. Even with like Rogan right now, how they're trying to come at him, like he's highly considering that he's going to back out of Spotify. It's like, I came over here because I thought you guys were a little bit more free than YouTube, and the fact that you guys aren't, it's like I can do this myself. I can go to a place where I can do this myself. And it's one of those things where they don't like people that just speak their mind. And a person that has as diverse people on them, I'm like, whatever he says aside, if it's in ill intent, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, some people are going to be sexist. Some people are going to be racist. Some people are just going to be who they are. At the end of the day, I don't really care about that. Or at your core as a person, are you a good person? Do you want to actually put positivity out there? If you don't, that's completely fine. But it's going to get to a point where you can't keep using my past transgressions against me because there's no incentive for me to change.
And it promotes new platforms to be born, because people are going to get tired of having to play everybody else's game. They're going to say, exactly what Rogan's probably thinking about now. I'm going to move on to my own platform. Why am I going to...
Exactly. And it's one of the things where it's...
Pander to, YouTube and Spotify.
Yeah. I mean, and the biggest thing where they get these high platforms and it's people that try to go after your advertiser. They're trying to go, okay, this is who I am as a person. Most of you don't even know what I stand for. Most of you watch clips. Most of you don't even see the entirety of the video in its entirety. So you just want to be offended, but that's okay. Stay your offended ass over there. It's just kind of wacky about how we're going. And even I think about the state of finance, just with inflation, with especially like the housing market is, I don't have any crystal ball or anything, but there's going to be another crash. It's going to be another crash.
I have a friend of mine who says the housing market could dip another 50-60% in the next 2 years, and I believe it. If I think the best time to buy a house would have been right before COVID or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the houses are still out there. Just right now, it's a seller's market. So, like last year in 2021, I had a lot of clients that got qualified for houses. They were trying to get them built. The builder straight up said, "Hey, the cost of materials is very high. If we build this house right now, it's not going to be worth anything. You're going to have to wait." Yeah. That's the most. But you building a house and not, a value, because it's one of the things where if you get a plot of land and then you build a house, your house price is going to be dictated off of the house prices around your area where you're at. And then it could go up or it could go down. It's the same thing. If you sell, let's go and say, unfortunately, if someone they buy a house for $200,000, the house goes and appreciates in value for $350,000. So all those houses that are similar in size and similar in area, or at least they could get $350,000. Yeah. If someone goes to go and say, "Hey, I want to go and sell mine for $225,000," now because they sold it for $225,000, it's only going to go lower down, and it's very hard to compete with somebody. Someone bought a house right next to you that was $225,000. Why should I pay $350,000? That doesn't make any sense. And if you want to wait until the market goes up, then you can to go and be able to make it. But a lot of the times where people just need that cash, and people, they want to go and sell it for dirt cheap, and then unfortunately that's the thing that messes up the market too.
Well, I don't think it's a coincidence that we're in another seller's market right here at the peak of our inflation, because they are trying to steer consumers into a rental economy as well. World Economic Forum, you will own nothing and be happy. They want people to rent everything.
There's that I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there's this guy. He's the CEO. I think they just went public. I think it was Blackbriar or something like that, or they're buying 30,000 homes a month.
Oh, Blackrock.
So I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? They're like, yeah, we're such a share economy. It's like, and then the funny thing about it is, you have the average person. They're worried about the person's buying a second or third house, or the flippers, or the real estate investors, when you should be worrying about Blackrock, where it says, yeah, like there's a lot of people that don't, they want to lease cars and things like that. They want to rent. I'm like, no. So, and you're making it to where they have no choice. You're not even, it's not a rent their own type of situation. It's like, no. Now, because I'm in the credit industry, I do tell people something simply. If you get to the age of 50, don't buy a house. Because more times than not, if your family doesn't live long, and you're like, I don't live like to like an old time, to like 80, 90. By the time you'll die before the house is paid off. Most people get a 30-year mortgage. So and a lot of the times,
average homeowner, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and a lot of people, their own kids already have their own houses. It's not one of those things where it's like, if I still got to pay if I got a mortgage, and I got a mortgage when I was 30, and now, not only to even take over the house, I got to pay, for a taxable event, and she still got 10 years on the mortgage. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Unless it's a hell of a deal, more times than not, they'll get it and then they'll end up selling it.
Right.
But it's one of those things where it's like, unless you're trying to pay that off in like 15, 20 years, that makes sense. But I tell people, it's like,
it's not the right time to buy,
no.
And they're absolutely, facilitating that. Giant corporations are absolutely making it harder for people to buy right now.
And you just have a lot of people that they just don't understand, where it's like, it's the old way of thinking, like, going, getting your job, getting married, getting a house. But most people might have kids before they even get married. A lot of the times people don't get into their swing of things as far as their career till sometimes over 25. Sometimes it takes a minute, and then you're paying debt, you're paying student loans. So even you throw a mortgage into that as well, to where you have a lot of people that they don't even know how to go about the home buying process. That's my biggest thing right now, is really in the financial literacy. So actually putting a financial literacy class together to where not only I can teach about how credit works, how to actually qualify for a house, how life insurance works, because I am a life insurance agent, and actually educating people about budgeting, because you have a lot of people that they make good money, but they have no financial education.
Right.
Doesn't matter how much money you make, if your mindset doesn't change, you're always going to spend it. It's the same people that made $10 an hour their entire life, and then they start making salary $40, $50, $100,000, and now they're getting everything their heart desire. Yeah. I've met people that made way more money than me, but live paycheck to paycheck. How does that happen? But you don't. Exactly. They're going on trips. They're eating out.
Way too many outgoings.
To where, like, I know people to where the amount of money they spend on Uber Eats or going on trips or the amount of a mortgage. And it's ridiculous.
Who's richer? The CEO that makes, $250,000, $500,000 a year, and he's working 60, 80 hours a week? Or the online business owner who's working, 20 to 40 hours a week, and he's making, 150,000, and he's living overseas, where the dollar has more buying power.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about lifestyle. There's so many people that they're so concerned with the old way of doing things.
Right.
Like, shout out to DeSantis, even though I don't believe, you should run for president, but he's actually just passed a law to where they're going to start implementing, financial literacy. And, as far tax things, like, I didn't learn any of this stuff until I even got here. So, like, I've been out of school for, 13 years, high school.
Credit repair, too. That's going to be...
Exactly. And it's one of the things now where even, a lot of the credit bureaus now, they're forgiving, 70% of the collections that people have, which a lot of people don't know about, as far as from medical debt. Because a lot of the times, too, when you go to the ER, a lot of the times, whether you have a copay, you'll pay that. The hospital overbills the insurance company. Yep. And a lot of people don't realize that. So they'll kick that back to say, hey, I'm not paying this. I'm not paying this. I'm not paying this. I'm not paying this. They don't call you and say, hey. They try to collect from them 30, 60, 90. They write it off in their profit loss report. They sell it to the credit collection agency and pennies on the dollar. The collection agency now reports it to your report, and then your score plummets. Instead of, hey, it was $100. It was $50. Just give me a call. You have my information. We talk about this Hipa Law stuff to where I'd rather get a call and say, hey, give me a call so I can go and pay this instead of it being in my report. Then now I don't even know it's on there unless I have Credit Karma or some type of credit monitoring service to even monitor my credit. Because a lot of times when you're talking about people trying to get a house, all they know is I worked at a job for at least 2 years. They say I'm able to get into a house, which that's one part of the equation. You also have to have a low debt to income ratio. Last year's tax returns, last year's bank statements, around 600 to 640 credit score. Companies want to know at the end of the day, you just have more money coming in than you have going out. Yeah. And as far as, another thing in finance, your 401k, which is not a bad financial product, which 80% of Americans have that, and all that stocks and mutual funds. So when the market goes up, that's fine. The market's been as volatile and bipolar as anything over these last couple of years. None of my clients, because the firm that I work at, we deal with things that have the upside of the market without any of the downside. So they can't lose any money in the accounts. I've had CPA buddies of mine that's, had to break the news to their clients. Hey, I know you were going to retire this year, but you can't. You have to work for the next 5 years just to recoup what you lost. Yeah. You know how sick I would be? I'd lose my shit. But it's the state of finance is really peculiar. It's just
it's really, I wonder, why did it take so long to put these things back in school? Why did they get taken out, of the public education curriculum in the first place?
I feel like it's on purpose, because even I took I wouldn't say a financial literacy course, but I took a business class as far as typing, things like that. But even there was a software where I was running a store as a manager. So it's all the school system was to get you enough educated to where we're take you to another 4-year school, to another 4-year, and make you employees. Yeah. Like I got into entrepreneurship,
train you to become an employee specifically.
Exactly. Your mindset, because even when I got into entrepreneurship in 2009, my first was Cutco. And I've done direct sales and marketing, a whole bunch of different companies, some of them MLM, some were network marketing. And when I was telling people what I was doing, the only thing I really heard a lot of the times is, why don't you just get a regular job? I heard that. And again, entrepreneurship wasn't as sexy back then as it was. Like, it's sexy now.
They just stare at, it is. And but before, they just stare at you like, they have no idea what you're talking about. They said, what you got to get your degree. You got to go and get your job.
Exactly. I mean, even if you
buy
have
a house, settle down.
Exactly. Even if you have a degree, most jobs want experience. All a degree tells people is you could regurgitate a lot of information. You could regurgitate a lot of information for 4 years. That's all it tells you. That's why people have to, more times than not, work these unpaid internships for a year. And a lot of times, if you're trying to work and do an unpaid internship, it's difficult. It can be done. But there's a lot of people that, there's not any job placement to where you have so many people with degrees but so much experience. Then you have jobs that, I've interviewed for, even friends of mine that, and even family members of mine that have had so much experience that they've said they're overqualified. And now they want them to, go on 4, 5, 6 rounds of interviews, then to pay them this little, where it's like, you want to pay people the bare minimum or under market and get so much from them to have this type of loyalty to the company. Let me say this in the camera too. If you did not realize this through the pandemic, an employer don't give a fuck about you. They never have. And if you die, you will be replaced. You've had people that have been literally taken out of work on stretchers, and they say, "Hey, I need the password to your account so I can go and send out this email, so I can send out this." Are you serious? You got me fucked up. But it's just, the information is out there, and I see a lot of people that, unfortunately, with all the social media, people like to be entertained more than they like to be educated. And you have to educate people in such a way, it's more like the medicine in the candy. So you'll see people like really big creators on several platforms to where their most big content is them even putting the information out in an entertaining way. They simply doing the information, even though it's educational. A lot of people are not going to follow through with it.
Right.
Which, at the end of the day, people are lazy. And people just need to understand that it's out there. If you don't want to do that, that's completely fine. Just say you don't want to do it. Just don't complain. I fought for everything I've ever had in my life. I've had no choice. But I'd rather live on my feet and die on them than live on my knees.
Damn right.
No, I want to say that one more time. I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. That's just how I'm wired. Absolutely. So with that being the case, guys, I just got to go in queue, so we're going to be out of here.
I think that was an excellent breakdown the past few minutes. That was spot on, and I wish we had more time.
Yeah, no, but man, we'll definitely get up together at another time, and with my guest, Raimund Jones. So before we get out of here, where can they find you at, brother?
Oh, go to auxdigital.com. It's AUXE digital.com. You can also find me on Facebook under Raimund Jones and Instagram under Raimund FJ or auxdigital, aux.digital on Instagram.
Okay. With that being said, guys, we're out of here. Later. Peace.
See ya.